you're like most golfers, you want to lower your handicap and play more consistent golf. Now, I think one of the main reasons that most golfers aren't achieving those goals is because you have the wrong expectations and you don't understand the stats behind your game. So today, I'm going to take you through an amazing study that actually broke down amateur golfers at different handicap levels and also give you 10 tips to help your game so you can shoot lower scores and play more consistently. So the first stat is that 5 handicappers from 150 yards only get their shots within 10 feet 6% of the time. That's right, 5 handicappers. The average male golfer is a 14 and the average female is a 27. So 5 handicaps are statistically really solid golfers, and they're only getting it inside 10 feet from 150 6% of the time. So what does that mean? 1, hit it farther if you can so you don't have less 150, but also aim for the middle of the green more often. It's just gonna improve your ability to have more birdie putts, fewer doubles, and if you get close, great, but if not, take your par and go with it. Another stat actually shows when golfers hit the green 50% of the time and at what distances. So according to this, a 20 handicap hits the green 50% from 92 yards, while scratch golfers hit the green 50% from 165 yards. What can you take from this? Hit more greens in regulation. More greens directly correlate to lower handicaps. Watch this video now where I have a bunch of tips to help you hit more greens without changing your swing. The third stat that might surprise you is how often 5 handicaps are hitting the fairway with their driver. Now, to give some context to it, PGA Tour pros hit it about 57–58% of the time. What about 5 handicaps? Well, they're actually pretty close at 49.7%. So that's pretty good, but at the end of the day, fairways are overrated. You want to focus more on distance with this club above all else. You're much better playing from 100 yards in the rough than 150 in the fairway. Hit driver more often, start speed training and figuring out ways to increase your driving distance so you have less into the green and you're going to hit more greens, avoid more blow-up holes, and hopefully sneak in a few birdies. The fourth stat that might surprise you is chipping from the rough. When it comes to chipping from 15 yards in the rough, 10 handicappers are more likely to leave it outside 20 feet than inside 5 feet. So what can you do to improve that? Simply spend more time at the short game area. Anytime I go to the driving range, it's packed. Short game area, couple people, putting green, almost no one. So if you want to improve your game fast, simply spend more time on it, because no matter how good you get, missing greens is going to happen. Even the pros only hit about 67% of greens in regulation. So missing greens is always going to be part of golf, so make sure you're spending more time with your wedges so you have fewer long putts and hopefully can get a lot more up and down. The fifth stat is about bogeys, and apparently 5 handicappers make bogey or worse 44% of the time. That's 6.4 bogeys per round. At the end of the day, bogeys are not going to kill your chances of playing great golf. It's the doubles, triples, and quads that will. So you have to learn how to avoid blow-up holes more than anything else. Now, we already talked about aiming for the middle of the green more often. That's going to help. Hitting driver longer, that's going to help. But at the end of the day, when you are out of position and you hit a wayward drive, get yourself back in position. Be okay with bogey or better, but avoid those doubles and watch your scores drop. The next stat is from 75 yards, 5 handicaps are more likely to make a bogey than a birdie. They only get up and down for birdie 11% of the time from 75 yards. That is shocking to me. But I kind of understand why, because I think most golfers are 75 yards out and they're like, oh, I'm gonna throw a dart, I'm gonna be all over it. And then you play too aggressively, you short side yourself in the bunker, and then you walk away with a bogey. So 1, aim for the middle of the green a little bit more often, so that way you're not giving yourself short-sided tough chip shots, and also spend more time with your wedges. Once again, if you never work on your short game, how do you expect to throw darts? Develop a wedge matrix so that way you know how far you hit each club and potentially add 2 or 3 distances. So you have like a choke up distance, you have a half swing. That way you can be confident from 70, 80, 100, or whatever wedge distance so you can hit more greens and lower your handicap. The next stat is that from 15 feet, 12 handicaps are more likely to 3-putt than hole out. They average 2.9 3-putts per round, which means you need to work on your putting. And the third section of my book is all about finding peace and confidence on the greens. Most golfers are stressed out, they have no routine, they don't really know how to read greens well, and you probably aren't practicing enough either. So you might want to check this book out, and my next book, Wicked Smart Golf 2, is coming out for a more in-depth look, but needless to say, putting is a huge piece of playing your best. So make sure you're spending more time at the practice green or investing in an indoor putting green so you can even work on your short game at home. Next stat is all about driving, but specifically with distance. So how often do golfers hit drives over 275 yards? Not much. Scratch golfers do it 18% of the time. For 20 handicaps, it's just 2%. So like we talked about, hitting more greens directly leads to lower handicaps. The same thing with driving distance. The longer you hit this club, the easier it is to lower your handicap. Start speed training with ripstick, get a lesson, and get fit for this club so that way you can hit it longer and make golf easier. The ninth surprising stat is that 10 handicaps only get it up and down from 90 yards 6% of the time. They often need 4 or more shots. Again, 90 yards is like a lob or sand wedge, maybe gap wedge. So what does that tell me? Spend more time on your wedges. Get some more practice at the range or the simulator. Most golfers are just mindlessly banging mid irons, long irons. In reality, you don't hit those clubs that much. And if you can't hit a wedge good, you really shouldn't spend much time on your irons yet. So spend more time at this area, get comfortable with different wedge distances, get comfortable with the basics like your weight transfer and your setup position and your grip. Use a grip trainer that I have on this one as well. So that way you're dialing in your fundamentals and you're gonna find more success under 100 yards because that is an easy way to start shooting lower scores fast. And the final stat is scratch golfers from 160 yards hit the green inside 20 feet just 19% of the time. They only average 56% of greens in regulation. So we already went through some stats today on greens and reg, but I just want to stress again the importance of aiming for the middle of the green. If you're looking for a more advanced solution on hitting greens and when to fire at the flag and when not, make sure to check out Decade Golf. There's no doubt you will learn so much in this program. It's my all-time favorite course management software, and it teaches you when to aim for the flag and when not to based on shot dispersion and amazing data inside the program. If you want to learn more about Decade Golf, make sure to watch these 2 videos next.